We have some pretty interesting developments with the real estate market this week. The average sale price is remaining stubbornly low, well below where we were last year at this time. Is that just a hiccup in the market, something that we're going to work through, or is that just the new market and maybe we should expect more? We'll get into that a little bit later. I have some thoughts on that. And then the other thing I have is some information about what we're seeing right now on the real estate market as we're out there showing buyers and receiving offers on our listings. I'm Ron Milligan with RE/MAX Select here in Portland's Pearl District, and as usual I have our weekly market update for the full metro area. That's Portland, all the bedroom communities, and Southwest Washington. So let's get into the numbers. First up is the average sale price. I mentioned that it's been stubbornly low for the last few weeks. It has. 3 weeks ago, the average sale price came in at 12.8% below where we were last year at roughly the same time period. Last week, that number was around 9% below. This week, the average sale price is up 3% versus the previous week, but it's still 8% below where we were last year at this time. The median sale price is also down 2% versus the previous week. That put us at minus 6.5% versus last year at this time. If you remember the previous week, the median kind of moderated. The week before it was at 6% below. The following week it moderated to 2% below, and now we're back to the 6% number. So these numbers that we're seeing right now for the average and median sale prices, they're trailing indicators. Back in November, December, the market was really sleepy. It was extremely quiet. Rates were high. Back in November, we had rates that hit 7%. That's like the highest that we had seen. And that had a really serious cooling effect on the market. So the buyers who were in that market in November and December were negotiating really good deals. And it would make sense that that's what we're seeing right here. The fruits of the labor of the buyers back in November and December who are really cleaning up. So how's the inventory doing? The supply of active listings for buyers to purchase? Well, it continues to slide. You can see that it's down 4% from the previous week and just continues this downward slide that we've been seeing for about 3 or 4 months now. And as we get into February and March, we'll start to get regular early spring sellers hitting the market, and that will probably halt this downward slide that we've been seeing for several months and probably reverse it in the other direction. And what happens, are buyers going to show up or not? We'll find out. For now, new listings are still pretty low, down 7.5% from the last week, 417. Price reductions are also down, not too many of those. New pending deals were up significantly, 568, up 9% from the previous week, which was a pretty strong number. Last week we came in at 522. That was a nice number to see because we've been having really low numbers of new pending deals. So, buyer demand has been really low, and then the last couple of weeks it's really kicked up. In fact, I had to go back 12 or 13 weeks to find a number similar to this. Again, as I said, November, December, really quiet months. Interest rates were high. Definitely had a chilling effect on buyer demand during those couple of months. And for the last couple of weeks, rates have been, like for a note rate for a 30-year fixed at Wells Fargo, has been around 5.75 to 5.85, and that's been for about 2 weeks now. We're going into our third week of that, and that, I believe, is the reason that we're seeing the surge in these numbers of new pending contracts, showing buyers out there writing offers and getting them accepted a lot more than we had been recently. So for the homes that did sell, there weren't a ton of them, but the ones that did sell, we can see that sellers had to discount about 6% off their original asking price in order to secure a purchase agreement. So on average, homes sold for 94% of the original asking price. I've said in the past, in a normal market or a more typical market, what we would do as agents is we'd want to list it and then hope that we land somewhere within 98% of that original asking price. And if that were the case, we'd say, yeah, that was a good deal. That was priced right, marketed correctly, and then we got the right buyer. So 94%, still a little rough, even though the previous week it was down around 92%. So that number is starting to moderate a little bit. Bank loans and short sales, so the pre-foreclosure homes, both those numbers dropped this last week. Again, we're just going to keep our eye on it because there may be some of these properties coming our direction, just not seeing them yet. I would have expected to start seeing some growth in these numbers by now, just given when the moratorium on foreclosures was lifted and the timeline since then, given some of these new mediation requirements that Oregon has imposed when it comes to foreclosures. Here are these couple of charts that I was talking about earlier. This is the number of homes sold going back till about the end of August, and the number of new pending transactions going back to the end of August. And I thought it was kind of interesting because you could see as these numbers are falling, we get into that November, December timeframe, higher interest rates really drive down the new pendings. And as a result, the number of homes sold is going way down as well. So the new pendings lead into the closings, usually 3 to 5 weeks after they go under contract. After a property goes under contract, it's going to sell, and then we're going to see the results of how that negotiation went. So what I feel like we're seeing right now are, again, the results of a time period where we had higher interest rates. And then, as I mentioned earlier, right now interest rates are considerably lower than what we have been seeing in November and December. And even like 3 weeks ago, interest rates bumped up to around 6.5%, and then they dropped rather quickly from 6.5 down to that 5.75, 5.875 range that we've been experiencing the last couple of weeks. Why I think this is interesting is because of what I've been experiencing with some of my buyers, some of my sellers, and then also what my agents have been experiencing. So over the last couple of weeks, I've had agents reaching out to me asking for language for escalation clauses. That's a situation where a buyer is competing with another buyer and they want to have this escalation clause saying, hey, we'll go this much above the next highest competing offer up to a ceiling of X. And that's something that we had in the last couple of years. Haven't seen a lot of those in the last 9-10 months. But the last couple of weeks, agents, my agents and my buyers have been experiencing that, running into situations where a new property hits the market that's really dressed up well, priced right, and is getting 4 offers is one that I experienced. 7 offers is one that I also experienced. I've also had agents that have been working with a buyer in a particular neighborhood, particular price range, and they've been running into multiple offer situations. So the 2 or 3 homes that they've been bidding on had all had multiple offers, and they've lost twice and won once. So I think that this is the result of lower interest rates. I think maybe folks have kind of gotten used to the idea that interest rates are going to be in the 5s. That's a normal interest rate in my book. I remember the first house that I bought had an interest rate that started with a 6. So I do think interest rates are a big factor in driving what we're seeing right now. The question is that sustainable? And I don't know the answer to that. I am surprised to be seeing this much activity this early in the year. In the past, I used to say the spring buying season hits once we have, number one, the Super Bowl behind us, just as kind of a date benchmark, and then a nice long stretch of sun, and that brings buyers out and sellers start hitting the market at that same time, and it kicks off our spring buying season. This feels a little bit early to me. So I'm not sure, maybe some of these folks are moving forward because of the interest rates. They're thinking, hey, I don't think they're going to get any better this year. Maybe I should grab one right now and get the home that I want to, hoping not to compete, but ending up competing ultimately. There is also a bit of a bifurcation of the market that I'm seeing. Homes that are priced right in the right neighborhood with really nice finishes, simply move-in turnkey, move-in ready. Those seem to be the homes that are getting the most offers on them. Homes that are not prepped for the market, or perhaps a little bit dated, or have an issue, being on a busy street or whatever it happens to be, those are sitting on the market and struggling to sell versus this other set of homes. As always, I'm going to keep a sharp eye on what's going on with this buyer demand and see if it starts to wane. Maybe this is an indicator that buyers are going to show up this season. I don't know, but as always, I will keep an eye on it and let you know if things start to change in one direction or the other. Thank you so much for watching to the very end. I would love a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, please definitely subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And as always, all real estate is local. We have markets inside markets inside markets inside markets. If you're curious about what's going on in your specific neighborhood or even your specific condo complex, feel free to reach out to us. I'm more than happy to share what we know and also do a bit of research to get you the information that you need. All right, we'll see you next week.